Now that the saga of the Doomslayer is laid to rest, a lot of fans are thinking this might be the end. Well, even though the Ancient Gods Part 2 was a way to close off the story of the Slayer, that's where this arc is going to remain. But there is a possibility we might see a new story, just not with the Slayer. This video is going to cover what's next for Doom, and later on, I want to discuss a few topics within the lore, things that still left me with questions or were a little confusing. It's going to be a long video, so sit back and enjoy. So to recap, the base game of Doom Eternal focused on the Khan Maker and the Icon of Sin. The first DLC focused on Samur Maker, who is part of the Slayer's past when he appeared on the land of Argent D'Nur. The second DLC was all about the Dark Lord of Hell, and that story went really deep into the lore. We discovered that some things that the Father told us and what the Codex had said was fabricated, just to hide the truth from everyone else. It was a veil of lies over the eyes of many. The pages of history written by the Makers was hiding the truth. What we read and knew about the Dark Lord was not entirely true. So for a look at the full lore, I do suggest you check out my previous video. But for this video, let's talk about what is next. It's hard to see the Slayer end this way, but the journey was amazing. Is this the end of Doom? Well, not really. There's two websites that had recent interviews with Hugo Martin and Marty Stratton posted on March 17th of 2021. They go over what is possible after Doom Eternal's story and talk a little about the Dark Lord in the latest DLC. Over on Games Radar, Hugo Martin said this: "This is our version of Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader going at it. But it's not the end of the Doom universe. There are more stories to tell. And I think when you look at the world of Part 2 as you play through it, you can see where we could go and things that we could do." The Dark Lord boss fight is really, I'd say, our best boss fight to date. It feels more like a 1v1 PvP fight than it does PvE, to be honest. We did a lot of work to try to make that encounter feel like you're really fighting an adversary, someone equal to you. He has an ability to actually take health from the player, for instance, just as you can take health from him. So he gains resources from you, like you've been doing to other demons for the entire game, which gives it this really good back and forth dynamic. He goes on to talk about more aspects of the new Sentinel Hammer weapon, highlighting its main focus during combat. He says this: "The Sentinel Hammer has a huge impact on gameplay in terms of how you acquire resources. It's an instant kill on fodder, so it's great for just dealing with large groups of guys, especially when they crowd you. But the main thing it does is that it gives you ammo. Everything that gets hit by the hammer's area of effect blast will give you ammo, making it a new way to get resources back. And as you know, resource management is definitely a key strategy in Eternal. It's part of the engagement loop." As much as I liked the Crucible in the base game, I did have some fun with the hammer, but I find the way you can replenish it during combat did make the combat situations less difficult. It's a great addition to playing with something new. It's just, for myself, I did miss the Crucible for those quick kills. Because of the limitations they had during 2020, the team had to work from home, which changed everything for everyone. The article does mention some things about invasion mode and battle mode. Marty Stratton said this: "We had talked before launch about things like invasion and additional battle mode maps. We wanted to have more playable battle mode demons out by this point, and those are things that are still on the horizon for us. But we put our focus on getting the Ancient Gods DLCs done because we knew players really wanted them." I'm still wondering what's going to happen with invasion mode, and if at this point, is it even worth waiting for? It is another game mode, but when you think about it, it's just like battle mode, but you're in the single player maps. And a slight map change will not really change my experience of controlling the demons, because they're just too weak versus a Slayer that can quick switch between his weapons. That's mainly why I lost interest in battle mode. The demons we used were just the nerfed versions. Overall, they just felt too weak. While multiplayer is a second thought for the developer, it seems the sales figures of the DLC and completion rates of the single player indicate what the Doom fans really want. Certainly, with completion rates on the Doom Eternal campaign at a healthy percentage and recently revealed sales figures suggesting the sequel was a financial success, the Doom community is ever growing and always hungry for more demons to slay. id Software is more than in tune to the appetites of those players too, taking their feedback into consideration, not just for various post-launch updates throughout 2020, but in the very design of the Ancient Gods DLC themselves. Doom has always been a game focused on single player, with multiplayer being an afterthought. They did really well with the story and combat system, so if they follow the same line of direction for a future game or DLC, I'm sure it will get mostly positive results. Moving on to the interview posted on Polygon, they bring up the same question as to where does Doom go from here? Hugo Martin responds with this: while this is the end of the story arc that began in Doom 2016, we planted a lot of stakes in the ground with that story, and we've been able to flesh out a lot of those things throughout the course of Doom Eternal, and to do 2 DLCs. So that story arc will end, from the time you woke up in the sarcophagus to the end of the DLC. But there are more stories to tell with the Doomslayer for sure. This could mean 2 things. They could continue with another game or DLC in the future and just mention the Slayer while focusing on someone else, considering how he says that story arc will end. The other thing, which I doubt, they could bring the Slayer back to continue his story, which is unlikely. I think the story from Doom 2016, then going into Doom Eternal, was a fresh way to expand on the lore. Doom 3 did it in their own way, despite the game being influenced by horror. The story in Doom 3 was a way to keep the fans interested in something new, because you cannot repeat the same formula from the original games. Things need to evolve and change with time. The team had a lot of conversations about what fits Doom and what does not fit Doom. One feature they did not agree with was the crouch feature in Doom 2016. Hugo Martin said this: sometimes though, they do get it wrong. Martin said that the crouch feature in Doom 2016, a button press that made you smaller, was not Doom. If you have a problem in Doom, the answer should almost always be running at it, trying to kill it, and if possible, getting even bigger, not reducing your own size. Doom is a game of fast-paced action, quick gameplay, and multiple demons to slay. Hugo Martin added this summary: you feel liberated when you play Doom, like, I need armor. I will set you on fire right now and saw you in half and take what I need. I will not wait behind that rock for those things to just slowly regenerate. I need it. Now I take it. The last part of this interview gives us more reason to believe that the Doom universe is not over. Hugo had this to say: could we tell a story about when the Doomslayer first came to that place with the Sentinels, almost like a more medieval setting, a fantasy setting? I think as you play the DLC too, you'll see lots of hints of what we could do moving forward, maybe even in the future. Again, our hero is somewhat timeless. I mean, literally, he's immortal, so he could tell all kinds of stories. Even if the Doomslayer saga is over, they could introduce a new character. Hugo Martin did mention they thought about a female Doomslayer from another dimension, and maybe branch off from there. Maybe include the Slayer in some flashback scenes or more codex entries that mention his story. The Doom universe is not over. They can tell many other stories. So for now, we can just enjoy what they started in Doom 2016 and ended with The Ancient Gods Part 2. Now that the interview stuff is over with, let's talk about a few other topics regarding The Ancient Gods Part 2. Did the Father create other life forms? This is what the lore says in The Ancient Gods Part 1. The Father watched as Jakad fell into darkness and knew it could never happen again. Determined to avoid a similar result for the earthly realm, the Father blessed his newest experiment with mortal pains and misfortunes, so that his new creations would treasure life, empathy, and peace. There's another codex entry that states this: when the Father willingly gave up his throne in Urdak, and with the aid of his loyal servant Samar Maker, he was deconstructed into the AI known as Vega. In this form, he obscured himself from the vision of the Dark Lord and maintained a close watch over his creations on Earth. This heavily implies that the life forms of Earth were created by the Father, so they would value the meaning of life and experience what it's like to be mortal. So what happened to the Slayer at the end? Why did he collapse and not disappear like the other demons? Well, he's not entirely an evil being created by Davath. He was merely modified in a divinity machine. The Father had taken a piece from his creator before Davath was sealed away. This contained the power of the Dark Lord, and it was contained within the coffins of Urdak.
They sealed me away, stole my power and name. And now the time has come for a reckoning.
The Dark Lord told the Khan Maker about a chosen one that would destroy her. But there was one way to find this beast. Creating the divinity machine was part of that false salvation. The Dark Lord guided the Khan Maker to the location of the piece containing his power. This was the source of power for the divinity machine later on. Samar Maker was then influenced by the Dark Lord to free the Outlander and bring him to the divinity machine. He changed the polarity on the machine, and this power of the Dark Lord was then transferred into the Slayer during the procedure. Why did Samar do this? Well, because of his vision. The Khan Maker will lead us to ruin. He thought doing this was the right way to stop her. He's not a pure demon like the others, but he is linked to Davath. So when he killed Davath in the end, he collapsed. It seems that without the Dark Lord, the Slayer is severely weakened. His strength, speed, and power faded away. His body now resides in a sarcophagus, and there he shall remain throughout the ages, as he once did before. The symbol on the divinity machine is the same one you see on the Dark Lord's back. So the true purpose of this device was to create a being with similar power to Davath, a way he could exact his revenge on those who betrayed him. The Slayer and the Dark Lord are connected together by the power of Davath. This is why the Father is not affected by the death of Davath. The Father was a deity for Urdak, not for Jakad or Hell. Only the creations of Hell are affected when the Dark Lord is defeated, because they are creations of that world. The Wraiths were a topic that was quickly mentioned in the lore, but they did not go deep into it. I wanted to know more about this species, like what else do they do? What is their purpose? Why did they not leave Argent D'Nor? Was their ship that damaged? Where did they come from? And why are the images of seraphs with them? It's a topic that left me with more questions. And what about the demonic crucible? Was the last prophecy simply leading up to the ending of Doom 2016, where Samuel Hayden would be consumed by his fascination about the crucible and just take it from you? Is that what the last prophecy meant?
Yet even as the doomslayer levels from the spores of this war, another shall rise from the fires, a dark priest consumed by the crucible, and even the doomslayer shall weep in his shadow.
In my opinion, no. The prophecy seems to imply that there's more to this story, but the demonic crucible is what plays a role into this. If the prophecy was just foreseeing the ending of Doom 2016, then it does not match entirely, because nobody has claimed the demonic crucible to be consumed by it. So, with the demonic crucible still being left behind on the Fortress of Doom, I believe they could make either the Father or Samar Maker a new enemy. I believe either one can be that dark priest who rises and becomes consumed by the crucible, which would create a new enemy, so this could be a way to extend the story in the future. Now let's talk about the final boss battle with the Dark Lord. I was hoping there were actual changes to the mechanics at some point. Because of the Codex entry from Ancient Gods Part 1, we did see Davath in different armor and another crucible, so I was hoping at some point we would fight some kind of humanoid form like that. But when it was the same boss battle repeated multiple times just with more enemies, it kind of dragged on for me, and at some point I thought, I just want this to end. However, It was nice to fight an opponent that had similar abilities as you. Yes, that constant health regen did make the battle longer than I would have liked, but anyways. Since we had the hammer, I guess there was some expectation to have a hammer versus crucible battle, or something like that. What about the whole thing with the Dark Lord requiring the use of a battle armor suit? If you look back at the first DLC, the Father did say this: the Dark Lord is the leader of Hell's armies, not a king but a warrior of the Dark Realm. So if he is this legendary warrior, does that imply he is only this good with that battle armor suit? Well, I think the suit was something made during the time Jakad prospered under his rule. The Codex does say this: alone, Jakad's minds achieved great marvels as they sought to create a paradise. We know he has access to advanced technology, so maybe the suit is something extra. Perhaps he is a great warrior, but since his power is transferred into the Slayer, now Davath only has the suit for any combat situations. What about the Wretch? Hugo did say this during one of his live streams. We didn't really go into it. The Wretch is the one who fashions your armor originally, and I will say that is one that has been left on the table so far. It is the person who made your armor initially, way back in Argent d'Nur, when you're with the Sentinels, but didn't really go into who that character was. I went over this topic in a previous video, and how this most likely points to Valen, when the Dark Lord says this in one Slayer Testament: the Wretch who shall not be named. I think this is talking about Valen because he betrayed his own people and also Hell by possibly being the one who forges the Slayer's armor or just upgrades it. Here's another thing. In Doom 2016's Codex entry about Argent d'Nur, one of the Corax tablets mentions the word Wretch. All falls before the command of Hell, for our power is absolute, our march to victory inevitable. Before our armies, even the elemental wraiths of Argent d'Nur were subjugated. In that great victory, the Night Sentinels, protectors of the wraiths, were betrayed by one of their own, and the wretches wept as we devoured their world and took the well for our devices. None stand against us, for treachery resides in all things, and we shall set it free. It says, the wretches wept as we devoured their world. This is referring to the Argentine people, so who amongst them could be despised by the Sentinels and by the Dark Lord? Possibly Commander Valen, because he betrayed the Sentinels and Hell, and also he is the most likely connection to the person that could have forged or upgraded the Slayer's armor to help him fight the forces of Hell. Here's the last topic I want to cover. Who are the other Dark Lords? There are various Codex entries that mention other Lords of Hell. This took place over different ages. One of the Slayer Testaments in Doom 2016 says this: in his ravenous hatred he found no peace, and with boiling blood he scoured the umbral plains, seeking vengeance against the Dark Lords who had wronged him. He wore the crown of the Night Sentinels, and those that tasted the bite of his sword named him the Doomslayer. The Codex in Doom 2016 about the Baron of Hell says this: the Barons of Hell are the current royal guard of the unknown Dark Lord of the Fourth Age. The Codex in Doom 2016 about the Necropolis on page 2 says this: imagine yourself worshipping before the icon of sin, in awe of its splendor, even as it sleeps till the call of ages comes. Envision chanting the names of Dark Lords in the correct order, empowering them with your rote learning. When Davath was sealed away in Jakad and his soul sphere placed within the Tome of Souls, there were other demons who took the title of the Dark Lord. His name, title, or status was taken by others over the course of history. So why is there nothing mentioned about the other Dark Lords? Who were they, and what were their goals? That's a question that still remains. So that's it for the video. Those were a bunch of topics I wanted to focus on and possibly have theories for. If you have any feedback or topics that I should cover, leave it in the comment section. And if you made it this far into the video, leave this comment: Doom will return, and I will heart your comment. Subscribe to see more topics around the lore within Doom Eternal. Thank you for watching. This is Carlos or Acid Glow, and I will see you in the next video.